All right, y'all, we are finally here. It is the first episode of the Thread of Thoughts podcast. I am your host, Tia. Welcome, welcome. Today, we are going to be talking about social media, but more specifically, social media breaks. And I thought it would just be a good time to discuss this because I did a lot of reflecting over the past 2 weeks with just how I engage with social media and how much I consume social media. And it's just not good. And honestly, it all goes back to the 2 weeks ago where it was Labor Day weekend and I made it a point to do something every day of that extended weekend because I like to rest on the weekends. But I'm like, Tia, you need to get out there. You need to see some nature, get some fresh air. You need to engage, interact. And so I did that. But I noticed that while I was out, I wasn't present. And I wasn't present in the activities I was doing. I wasn't present with the people I was with. And that really just kind of set the tone and the energy for that day. I was taking all these pictures, making sure my captions were correct, seeing who looked at my story, seeing who responded to my story, all these things other than being in the present moment. I think that just with the times that we're in now, social media just plays such a big role in most of our lives. And it is so vital to know when it's time to detach from it. For me personally, I do have accounts with a few social media platforms, but in this episode, I'm going to center it around Instagram and TikTok because these are the primary platforms that I utilize on a daily basis, honestly. And if you're not sure what Instagram and TikTok is, I'm going to try to explain these platforms to the best of my ability. So definitely bear with me. Instagram is a photo and video sharing app, but they do have other features like reels, highlights, stories, things like that. But it's still just photo and video sharing. I don't really use Instagram to its full capacity. I typically just post on my story and that's it. Now, TikTok is actually very fast paced, and this is a video sharing platform where you can create and share videos anywhere from a few seconds to I think 3 minutes. But I'm not too sure because I don't make TikToks, I just watch them. You can literally scroll and scroll and scroll, and you're always going to have content, new content at your fingertips. But I don't know because I think I've been seeing photos on my For You page lately, kind of like these slideshows. So I think you can share photos on that platform as well. But I don't know. I know they also have other features for those who create videos, such as stitching, duets, transitions, filters, things like that. You can add music to your videos. Honestly, again, like I said, I don't know, but it's such an addicting platform. At least for me, I definitely get caught up on there for hours on end. Now, when I am taking a social media break, I am just simply logging out of the app, deleting the app from my phone. I know some people, when they take a social media break, they prefer to deactivate their account or even delete their account altogether. But I like to just remove the app from my phone and keep my account active. Anytime I take a break from Instagram and TikTok, it's always because of overconsumption and mainly because I would notice I would not continue moving forward towards self improvement. I would stop reading. I would stop learning. I will stop being creative. But I also do have separate reasons as to why I started taking breaks from these platforms. So for Instagram, I started taking a break from this platform, I want to say early 2020. And that was sort of the rise of the pandemic. Things were just so crazy. And I was seeing a lot of information online and a lot of misleading information online. And at this time, it just really affected me. And I just didn't know how to form my own opinion around what was going on. So it was just best for me at that time to eliminate Instagram for however long I needed to and just be present and be aware. Now, TikTok, I don't know when I started taking breaks on this platform, but another thing I noticed while utilizing this app was how much anxiety I had being on this app. I mean, I would literally experience a range of emotions being on this app. And I just didn't like the fact that an app had that much control over how I was feeling daily. I would feel happy, sad, triggered, whatever the content was that was presented in front of me. Another reason I started taking TikTok breaks was because I did a lot of comparing, and I did a lot of comparing in regards to lifestyle. I would see so many videos of people on vacation. I would see these get ready with me videos, these day in the life videos, or just people doing big things, right? And these things are very inspirational and motivating, but I would sit back and truly feel like I'm not doing enough. And I think that it's so important to understand that social media is truly an illusion and a lot of it is fake. And people on social media only show you what they want you to see. They are not showing you the behind the scenes of it all. If everything is a smooth process for someone, that's good. Like, that's amazing. But we are not seeing the challenges and obstacles that people face to get to what they have. I've noticed a few things each time I have taken a social media break. I was very bored in the beginning of each and every break. I was very concerned about what I was going to think about, where my thoughts would go, where my thoughts would lead me to. And honestly, I did a lot of reflecting on just like my creative endeavors, friendships, relationships, work, life, things like that. So I definitely did productive thinking. Not so much negative thinking, which is so crazy when I think about it, because I thought that I would think so negatively and I would sink into such negative thoughts, but I actually had more positive thoughts. Wow. Now that I think about it, that's more of a reason as to why I should get off social media altogether now that I'm thinking about it. Anyways, I also noticed I was searching for social media outlets similar to Instagram and TikTok. I have never used Pinterest a day in my life, but I knew that Pinterest was full of pictures, a lot of content, some videos. I don't even know how Pinterest works either. Like I just was like, listen, if I can get to pictures, that's all that matters. Like Instagram, right? So I get Pinterest. And I like Pinterest because it's very inspirational. Like you can get a lot of inspiration from Pinterest, but I could tell that that's why I was there. I'm like, this is the closest thing I'm going to get to Instagram without the necessarily connecting and networking part of it all. I wasn't following my peers. I wasn't socializing in any way on there. It was just to view content. I was also on YouTube Shorts. And this is just so funny to me because it's like YouTube Shorts. Like I've never used YouTube Shorts, but I'm like, okay, I want that quick, fast content the same way TikTok is. And when I look at it, I was pretty much in the same cycle of social media consumption, just on different platforms. I was also logging on to Instagram on Safari from my phone. And this is when I noticed I really have an addiction to Instagram. And it took me a lot of courage to say that, but it's true. I was constantly checking my messages. I was constantly seeing if there was any new content, in which it wasn't. Like, there's nothing going on new when you get back from a social media break. It's always the same thing. But I was constantly logging on from Safari. Now, anytime you're moving towards self-improvement and bettering yourself, it's never going to be a linear process. So I made sure I didn't beat myself up about it. Anytime I did log on to Instagram on Safari, I just made sure I kept my goal in mind, which is always to get right mentally. And I honestly think that the beginning to any detachment isn't going to be easy. So you have to move with grace and definitely keep in mind what your end goal is. I also noticed how much my attention span shortened. Literally a 15-minute YouTube video would start to feel like an hour. And then I got to this mindset where it's like, why would I watch a video on YouTube that's 15 minutes on how to become a homeowner when I can go to TikTok and get all the information I need in 3 minutes or less? Why would I watch a video on YouTube that is about 10 minutes on how to change a tire when I can get all of that information on TikTok in 3 minutes or less? Right? And that was not a healthy mindset. As far as what I've gained from social media breaks, as I've said before, every time I log back on, I notice that I'm missing nothing. I also became more present and aware, which to me is definitely a bittersweet thing because too much awareness can lead to depression and anxiety for me. And I think it's so important to find that balance. And that is something I'm still working on today. Social media is just such a huge distraction. And when you eliminate that distraction, it just sort of leaves you with real life, real time, real thoughts. And sometimes those things really need to be processed. I just want to encourage everyone to take a social media break because I think a lot of us are in denial of our addiction to social media. And I understand that social media has its advantages. You can connect, you can network, get inspiration, you can promote your business, but it's also leading to a lot of depression and anxiety. And it is the small habits that make the big changes. And it's these little things that we engage in and these little practices that we have that impact us in a major way. I honestly got myself being off social media at 27, maybe 26. I might just have an account for my creative endeavors, but as far as personally, I don't think I'll be on there. I don't think I'll be on social media, but we will see. But that is all that I have for you guys today. I want to thank you guys so much for listening. I had so much fun. And I know that I told you guys previously that you can subscribe to this podcast anywhere you get your podcasts, and that's not true. That is not true. I am still working on getting my podcast across more platforms, but for right now, you can definitely subscribe and listen on Spotify, Anchor, and Apple Podcasts. Make sure you follow us on Instagram at Thread of Thoughts Pod, and we'll talk next week.